Get through today, but we start with Tottenham Hotspur. Thomas Frank insists he's 1,000% convinced he's the right man to lead the club, despite yet another defeat, this time to Newcastle United. They're only 5 points above the relegation zone. Once again, Frank endured chants from the home support, while several fans told him directly to leave the club. Spurs had levelled the game at 1-1 before Jacob Ramsey's first goal for Newcastle earned Eddie Howe's side a vital 3 points. It means Spurs remain winless in the Premier League in 2026. Having already booed the Spurs boss before kick-off, the home crowd didn't hold back at full time, with some telling him directly what they thought as he left the pitch.
I understand the fans' frustration. We are in a position we don't want to be in. That we're working very hard day and night to change. And I also think it's a situation now the club has been in, it's fair to say, almost 2 years, and ended last season as well. I think you need to have a calm head, carry on, keep fighting, keep doing the right thing, make sure we stick together, because you can only get through this together. And that's the board, that's the leaders, that's the players, that's the staff, that's me, that's the fans. We only get through this together.
Will you used to be in charge for the Arsenal game, do you think?
Yeah, I'm convinced there will be.
Is there any doubt whatsoever? Do you still have that belief within you?
1,000% sure. I'm also 1,000% sure that I never expected us to be in a situation like this.
OK, Jay Bothroyd's here for the next 2 hours. We're going to be joined by our reporter Michael Bridge as well, but he is making some very important calls right now about Thomas Frank's future. OK, so Jay, to start with, last night, were you expecting Frank to still be in charge after last night? Right now, did you think he would have already been gone?
It's a tough one because obviously they've brought him in. They wanted to bring him in based upon, how well he done at Brentford. I think he is a good manager, but right now the players just don't seem to be responding. It's doubtful for me, especially because they haven't got a game now for 10 days until that North London derby comes up. So I think if they're going to make that decision to let Thomas Frank go, it probably will be now. So I'll be surprised if I see him in the dugout against Arsenal.
So what do you think has gone wrong? Because, yes, OK, they finished low in the Premier League last season, but they won the Europa League. And the reason for them being so bad in the Premier League was because they prioritised the Europa League. Surely they should have been much better this season. Yes,
they should be. I mean, they got some really, really good players. But I just think there's been too many changes. Tottenham have had too many managers and they haven't stuck by someone. I felt that Ange should have been given the opportunity to come into this season and be the manager, especially after winning silverware. But it's the same old story, really. The attacking football is just not there, conceding goals all the time, the discipline's not there, the injuries are still there. So it's not good times for Tottenham at all.
Yeah, we are desperate to be joined by our reporter, Michael Bridge, by the way, because it looks like we have some very, very big news on the future of Thomas Frank. In fact, he's making his way into the studio right now, and I believe we might know what Michael is about to say. Here he is. Michael, what do we know about the future of Thomas Frank?
Good morning, everyone. It's our understanding that Thomas Frank has been sacked as Tottenham Hotspur head coach. More on that as we get it, but we can confirm, we understand Thomas Frank is no longer the Tottenham Hotspur head coach. He had still people who were supporting him over the last few weeks. They didn't want to make this decision, but I think it had become untenable. I felt last night that had to be it. It was a really bad atmosphere.
Poor performance.
Lost the fans, and I just felt last night there was no way back. They didn't want to do this, but I think it had to be done. They had to make a decision. They've got Arsenal in 11 or 12 days' time. I mean, it's not the game anyone wants, but they have made a decision. Thomas Frank is no longer the Spurs head coach.
What was it like there, Michael, last night? Because I know that the fans have turned on Thomas Frank for quite some time. Was last night any worse than it has been over the last few weeks?
Yeah, it wasn't a nice atmosphere. The Spurs PA announced Thomas Frank's name first. There was boos. He walked on the pitch at full time, boos, walked off. It happened a lot this season. Chelsea, you know, and when Mickey van der Ven sort of didn't acknowledge him, Jed Spence walking around clapping. Everyone likes to be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, apart from the home fans at the moment. It's a great place, but it's not a great place if you're a home supporter at the moment. Someone said to me, Newcastle aren't very good away from home. Spurs aren't very good at home. And it wasn't much of a surprise last night. They will have to be talking now about a replacement, an interim, but...
Will it be an interim definitely?
Not definitely. Hopefully we'll get some information on that later. This is just broken. But whoever will be looking after the club in 11, 12 days' time against Arsenal will have a humongous amount of talent and players out. And they'll only have about 11 or 12 fit senior players to play.
We should just say, obviously, Sky Sports News were very, very polished, very ready for anything. But at the very top, just about 5 seconds to 10 o'clock when we were going on air for this show, Michael was ready to come on. Michael got that word, made the calls to check this story, because that's what we do here. And then we've got him on to do it. We really haven't got that much information at the moment, other than the big news that Thomas Frank has gone from Tottenham Hotspur. They have sacked him. Jay, in terms of who comes in, everyone's been chanting for Mauricio Pochettino's name, but that wouldn't be until the summer. What names would you put out there?
I mean, I heard Jamie O'Hara speak, and I completely agree. I think it should be someone like De Zerbi. But then, when De Zerbi comes in, he wants full control of everything. Transfers, he's got that kind of ego that he's not going to mess around. He's going to just phase people out if you've got a bad attitude. But I think someone like De Zerbi would be great. Obviously, Tottenham fans want to see attacking football. He brings that. He'll bring a philosophy. He's going to bring in certain players that he believes he can get the best out of as well. He done so well at Brighton. He done so well at Marseille. So I think that would be the one Tottenham should be looking at.
Well, let's get some fan reaction now. Chris Cowling joins us now. Chris, well, I was expecting to be asking you, do you expect Thomas Frank to go today? But a few moments ago, he did go. What's your initial reaction to the news?
Tom, J. Michael, good morning to you. It had to happen. I've been saying this for some time now. How long can it go on like this? And when you look at Thomas Frank's record at Spurs and you look at us now 16th in the Premier League, 5 points above the relegation zone, it simply could not go on like this. He's managed Spurs 13 home games in the Premier League. We've heard boos from the Tottenham Hotspur supporters on 9 occasions, either at half-time and or at full-time. And things just couldn't go on like this. We don't seem to have any type of certain style of play. And it just seems to be really poor football this season, what we have seen. And, Spurs need to be climbing up that Premier League table. And Opta put out a stat this morning stating that we've got more chance of relegation than finishing in the top 9. And this is good enough. This North London derby that is coming up Sunday week is hugely important for the club, and these 12 remaining Premier League games are hugely important. So this is absolutely the right decision, and I'm not a fan to be calling for managers to go. I like to see managers given time and patience, but I think on this occasion it simply was not going to work with the style of play, and I think that a number of players weren't actually playing for him, and when you don't have that support from the supporters, it is a huge problem. And last night it was a toxic atmosphere at half-time and especially at full-time, and a lot of empty seats, which is very, very sad to see.
Chris, obviously that North London derby coming up, that's a tough game now for Arsenal because, normally when a manager comes in, there's a big reaction from the players. So I know you have some top players that are out injured, but that's going to be a really, really difficult game now. My question to you, though, is when this new manager comes in, whether it's interim or permanent manager, are you prepared to see losses? Are you prepared to see a big change? But the football is good.
Jay, I think the Spurs fans, and I think I've said this before on this show, and especially to you, I think that we've all been very patient in recent history. In our new stadium, we've gone through 6 managers, 6 permanent managers, 3 interim managers. We've been prepared to be very patient with a lot of managers as well. Of course, Ange Postecoglou had a lot of injuries. Yes, injuries have played a huge part in Thomas Frank's time at Tottenham, but you've got to remember as well that the media, absolutely battered for Ange Postecoglou last season with injuries. He still delivered the Europa League trophy. So I think that we've been very patient with managers overall. And yes, I'm prepared to be very patient with another manager. But I think when you see the type of football that Thomas Frank was trying to play, there wasn't even a plan A, let alone a plan B that Postecoglou.
Well, you can't be too patient. Whoever comes in now, whether it's interim or not, you can't be too patient because you've only got not that many games, really. You've only got a few more months in order to stay in the Premier League. You've got another 12 games to go and you're only 5 points above West Ham, and West Ham's form is good.
Would you take Ange back?
I don't think Ange Postecoglou would come back, and I don't see the football club going down that route either. I just hope at this stage that we do have an interim manager coming in, even if it is a couple of ex-players, to get this team,
Which
the
ones,
confidence back.
Which ex-players? Because we know that you like Pochettino in the summer. We know that the fans in general like Pochettino in the summer. But which ex-players do you want now?
It depends who's available, Tom. I'm sure that now Thomas Frank has actually been sacked. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people putting themselves forward, and I'm sure that they'll be making a lot of phone calls as well to see who is available. But I just think that when you look at what Manchester United have done with Michael Carrick
Which names stand out, though? Which names stand out? If you want an ex-Tottenham player to come in, which ones stand out? Available or not, whichever ones, they want to approach, who would you like to see?
Tom, it's got to be Harry Redknapp, surely.
Well, you've just said Redknapp. Jamie O'Hara's mentioned Tim Sherwood before. Someone threw in Jermaine Defoe as well. Who would you say?
Well, you could say any of those names, Tom. I just think that if you got 2 or 3 of those people in, one as manager, one as assistant, one as a coach, if you had a collective, 2 or 3 ex-players, something that means something to the football club. You've seen what Michael Carrick has done at Manchester United. It has worked. It has given Manchester United, a huge boost of energy. And I feel like that is exactly what is needed at Tottenham. And, when people don't want to be going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that is a huge issue. And as I mentioned, the booing at the stadium, for Thomas Frank is just, it's unbelievable. I've never seen scenes like it. I've never seen a fan base be so unsupportive of a manager because they just don't believe that it was going to be, the right thing going forward.
I think Michael might have some more news to bring us.
No, Michael Dawson's just texted me saying Robbie Keane, but I mean that is someone
that would be a good manager.
Yeah, I mean,
but he's got experience.
Yeah, but I was told
as much as Redknapp,
he wouldn't come as an interim. I think because he's done ever so well abroad, hasn't he? But that's a very interesting one from Michael Dawson there.
He's currently in a job, isn't he, at Ferencváros?
Yeah. And would he do it as an interim? I don't know. But yes, it's a good shout from Dawsey there. But he knows the club inside out. And there's just a detachment there, isn't there, Chris? Is that how you feel at the moment? A real detachment? I'll be honest with you, Chris. I'm looking at the fixtures now, and when I was walking in today, I don't know where the next win came from. So it was they'd had to make a decision over the next couple of days. They've made it. Do they think Spurs are better off with or without Thomas Frank in terms of these last games? And they've decided that they need to make a change. But look at the squad. This person who's going to inherit. I mean, there's so many players out. And they're not coming back next week or the week after.
Bridges, that's the 11 that started yesterday is still a good 11 to go and win football matches. You can't tell me they're not a good 11 there. Yes, in terms of depth and squad, okay. But, you've got Solanke up front. You got good players in there. You've got Sarr in there. Van der Ven's in there. They got good players still. Spence, they've still got very good players. So I feel like, we can blame injuries, and injuries is important over the course of a season. But when you just isolate games like last night, it was a terrible performance. Tottenham didn't even come out the half for the pretty much the first half. So they got a lot to sort out. It's not just the personnel. I feel like they need to go and sort out someone to come in. I think it should be a permanent manager, to be honest, that can go and start working with his team, build a philosophy, build a club, because right now it's dire. Boos every week. When you turn on Tottenham now and you go to watch them, it's just boring. It is really boring.
I agree with both of you. Of course, injuries have played a huge part, in Ange Postecoglou's time at Spurs and, of course, now Thomas Frank's. But you have to find a way as a manager. Even Frank said that last night. He's got to find a way of getting results. And when Spurs are slipping down that league table like that, this is definitely the right decision. Every Spurs fan since last night, even during the game, was calling for Thomas Frank to go. This is absolutely the right decision to make as Tottenham Hotspur. But they've now got to make the next decision the right one. I completely agree with you, Jay, that we have a number of good quality players at Tottenham, and we should be playing a certain, way of football, a different style of football, entertaining. I remember coming on here a couple of months ago saying that it wasn't entertaining. At that point, I was worried about the entertainment style, and now I'm worried about where the next points are coming from, like Michael said. But, we've got 12 games now. We could salvage something. And, I know it's a long shot, but we could get a European spot if we get into a good run. I know you laugh,
Chris,
but it is...
Chris, come on, man. It's not April Fool's already.
It's mathematically possible. It is mathematically possible.
Yeah, I doubt if that's going to happen now. I mean, first of all, is it Fulham away, then you've got Palace.
Then Arsenal first.
Sorry, Arsenal, then Fulham away, then Palace.
Liverpool away.
Liverpool away. Them games there, I mean, even those games there, I can't see where you're getting wins from.
Do these players have the fight, right? So it's, what is it, Arsenal, yeah? When Spurs played Arsenal a few months ago, it was an utter disgrace of a performance. I've seen worse Spurs sides in the late 90s show fight when they went to Highbury, good Arsenal teams. The Chelsea at home, do they have the fight, Chris? Arsenal game's going to be tough, right? And Arsenal in the away, and they're going to be probably loving every minute of it. Then the week after, Fulham away. Last year, Fulham away, Matisse Tell was speaking to fans.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, Chris. Then what's the next one? I've got
Palace.
Palace, nice one, Jay. You're not going for Arsenal, are you? Palace. And
Palace at home.
I'm just looking at the fixtures. That's my concern.
And then Liverpool.
That's my concern.
I think there would be huge concern if Thomas Frank was still here. I just think now, if Spurs are going to get an interim manager or indeed make a permanent appointment, I think that he's going to give everyone a lot of renewed energy. And
The thing is,
when
Michael,
I saw
the club weren't prepared for this, because you've quite rightly said they did not want to do this with Thomas Frank. Does that mean that they might not have a contingency ready?
After West Ham, Chris will back this up. It was, again, atmosphere, very unsavoury. And it's given West Ham a new lease of life.
Yeah.
They were on the way out. And all of a sudden, the doctor turns up. And then look at West Ham at the moment. They've got a bit of fight in them. Now, but after the West Ham game, there was many who had had enough. That was it. There was understanding that, no, they wanted to carry on with Thomas Frank. And I think another reason for it is because of the lack of options. But you would think and expect and hope that they have been looking into it since then. But I still believe they were reluctant to make this decision. But was it getting to a point where it was actually cruel for him to carry on? But on Monday, when I was in the press conference, I asked about relegation, and it didn't feel like... So Thomas didn't really mention it at all. Or he said, all that matters is the next game. But Spurs are in it. They're deep in it.
Deep in it. Deep. As well, Chris, what kind of calibre of manager would you like to see at Tottenham? I mean, there's obviously Glasner's going to be leaving. There's talks of Iriola, potentially leaving because he's so good.
Silva,
again. De Zerbi's just left Marseille. Like, what kind of calibre would you
accept? And all the international managers who might go in the summer as well.
Who?
All of the international managers might go in the summer.
What? Well, you're talking about Turkle? Poch maybe, but forget about Tuchel, forget about Ancelotti, forget about Nagelsmann, forget about Enrique. They're not going Tottenham.
Nagelsmann could have had the.
They're not going Tottenham. They're not going Tottenham.
He was the creator there, so Mickey van der Ven and Dragusin never had anyone to mark. It was just, moving around them. They caused them all sorts of problems, runners from midfield. They just dominated the game, in my opinion. So it was a really poor performance from Tottenham and disappointing night for them.
Yeah, certainly was. 8 without a win now for Spurs. That's the worst run since 2008. You said before kick-off, if they lost tonight, they'd be dragged into that relegation battle. Are they in it now?
Yeah, they're in it. They're in a relegation battle. Unfortunately, you can't dress it up any other way. The table doesn't lie. North London derby comes next. It's not impossible that they could win that game. They would love to win that game because they would give them the confidence to move on. It would obviously upset their neighbours, who looks like they're favourites to win the title as well, which rubs salt in the wounds. But it's not getting any easier. And they go away to Fulham after that. And then they play Palace, and then the games come thick and fast after that. And it's about confidence, about getting one result and building and bouncing into the next. At the moment, they keep losing games, and it becomes a habit in the end. And the fans are not with them. There's a disconnect between the fans and the pitch, and certainly the manager. It's real problems at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly are. A disappointing night in North London for Spurs, who lose to Newcastle. Here's post-match reaction from their manager, Thomas Frank.
Press conference yesterday, there were a lot of questions about whether Spurs are in a relegation battle. You didn't mention relegation by name, but the gap is closing. Is this team in a relegation battle? Do the squad understand the position that they're in the league table?
We definitely need to understand we are not in a top position, and that we need to do everything we can to work very hard to get out of.
So you'll have heard the boos and the chants against you, chanting that you be sacked in the morning. Like, what can you tell the Spurs fans that gives you confidence, to give them confidence that you are the man to dig them out of this position?
I think I understand the frustration. I also understand it's the easiest thing is to point at me. That's fair. That's part of the job. Unfortunately, I also know one thing: I'll work day and night very hard to do everything I can to turn it around. But also, it's never only one person. I also think it's fair to say that the situation we've been in also last year. So there's something we need to get through and improve, and I'm not in doubt that I'm part of that.
Obviously, there's 12 days now until the next game, the North London derby. Have you spoken at all to the hierarchy at the club? Are you confident that you'll be in your position? Have you any worries about your job at Spurs?
No, I spoke to them yesterday, so no.
And results, performances like tonight, the reaction from the supporters, do you think that will have any bearing on them changing their opinion between now and the Arsenal game?
Yeah, Arsenal game coming up next. We're all wondering and waiting to see. I wonder what you think, Tim. Will he be there for the Arsenal game?
I think if he hasn't been sacked by now, they've had a lot of opportunities to sack Thomas Frank. It hasn't been good enough. Then they won't sack him. I think they'll persevere with him till the end of the season and see if he can get himself out of the hole what he's in. It's the first time I've ever seen him deflect. He normally takes all the brunt of it and takes it on the chin. He was talking about, let's not forget, last season as well. You know, it's accumulation. It wasn't great last year. He's deflecting around. Don't like that, personally. I just think the brunt stops with you. You're the manager. He's going on the self-preservation a little bit, which is unusual for Thomas Frank. I think it's the first time I've ever heard him not take responsibility.
Yeah,
full responsibility.
Interesting comment, as you've pointed out. The situation was like this last year, is what he said. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he's basically saying it's not all my making. You know, they were here with Ange, and they kind of saved the season.
Does he want praise, Owen, because they're 16th and they finished 17th last season?
I think what he's saying, first of all, he's missing his two best players, Kulusevski and Maddison. I think they're doing really well in the Champions League, you know, so I think, but again, they had this situation last season. They haven't invested well, and he's missing his best players, Kudus as well, so it's not all his fault.